Come on. I'm not anti everything.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the July 9th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. All right. And Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues. Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And obviously, right now for the next couple weeks, Outsiders Camps. I'm one of the executive directors. We need your help. We're taking a bunch of kids to camp July 21st to the 25th up in Arroyo Grande, great location. And there you go. You've got the link there in the chat box. And if you could check out that link and take a prayer sign-up, please, we would be really grateful. Tim Burns is jazzed because 2 weeks to go until camp starts, which, before I get briefly into some minor Ram stuff, because there's not a lot going on, we're going to talk a little bit about the quarterbacks, Stafford, a little bit about Jared Goff, a little bit about the NFC West, and then get into some Rams history, talking a little bit about Charles White, Bernie Casey, and such. But I wanted to get to this. You know, the thing is, I talk about the KBM a lot. I do. KBM. Can I just share, and I probably don't, maybe I don't share it enough with you guys. I don't hate everything everyone does. What I don't like is pedantic stuff where they talk down to you, where your opinion's not valued because they're getting a paycheck. Because I've noticed, though, people who get paychecks sometimes in sports are awful, extremely lazy, and they desire to be something more, right? I used to cringe when they said, oh, you're a reporter or you're a journalist. And I used to come back and say, no, man, I'm a sports writer. Because I was proud to be a sports writer. Journalist, and so I did it because I loved it. And I never wanted to be anything more. I remember my advisor in school saying, Joe, there's no money in sports writing. He was so right. And he was saying this to me 1,000 years ago before the internet. He says, you want to get into sports information. And he says, that's where the money is. And I kept saying, no, man, I just want to write sports. He was right. I was true to what I wanted to do. I didn't make any money. So there we go, or any big money at all. But a lot of guys don't want to be there. They get the job and they want something more. You know, they want to go do important stuff. And I don't think there's anything more important than, say, the NFL draft. But we're all built differently. So I don't like it when people are spoken down to by people who really don't love what they do. I also don't like it when they share the same old stuff, right? When they just take the low-hanging fruit. But I will say, I do love it when they give you something that you were unaware of before, or they highlight something. I do love. I'm a little skeptical of everybody being the steal of the draft, or this is the unsung guy that was undrafted that's going to shock the NFL, that kind of stuff. But I love reading articles about that 5th and 6th spot on a roster in a depth chart, right? Who's going to make it? I love stuff that talks about, you know, Ronnie Rivers and everything. I love stuff that you're not ordinarily going to get or see. So not everything is bad. And I probably don't praise it enough. Sometimes, I don't want to be accused of just looking at a Rams website, Turf Show Times, Ramblin' Fan, or Rams Wire, and just saying, oh, here's their stuff. I'm just going to use it over here. So I work hard to try to get something different. But when I see it, the same stuff on all the sites or same places, it just turns me off. And I'm probably a little too negative. I'll try to be more positive in the future. So here we go. It's a hot day here in SoCal. The RamCave is cooking. I got a fan going, so sorry about that. Tim Powers, Jared is crying. Jared, we're going to get to Jared here in a second. We're going to get right to him. Willie Bowen. Hi, Joe. I love L.A. Go Rams. There we go. Steve Ramirez, I had a decent life being a sports writer and made some money. Yeah, Steve, you did great. You did good. Of course, you were a bulldog, though. And I never got the impression, Steve, when you were out there, I never got the impression that you wanted to be someplace else. And if you wanted to be someplace else, it never showed. Steve Ramirez is the epitome of a grinder. He just kept going to work every day. So, no, I appreciate what you said there, Steve. Tim Burns, I think Goff and Kupp both love being blindsided, in their opinion. When moving on is a pattern that I'm not happy with, McVay is so loyal to Higbee and Atwell. We're going to straighten that one out there, Mr. Burns. Real quick here. Let me throw this out there. When you see a poll of quarterbacks or a quarterback mountain, as Nick Wright put together, to me, it loses all credibility when Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Jaden Daniels, only 1 year in the league, are all listed ahead of Matthew Stafford. Yeah, Lamar Jackson's never been to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrows has lost one. Jalen Hurts has been there twice, but I would argue that he was not the difference to getting his team to the Super Bowl. And then, of course, Jaden Daniels, right? He won 2 playoff games last year, but he's hardly really ahead of Matthew Stafford. I want to give Nick Wright, who put that together, the benefit of the doubt and say he was just doing it for clicks. But here I am, back to my same old thing. I don't think that highly of the KBM. Given a choice between getting it right or wanting to be loved, they will choose being loved 8 days a week and wanting to stay on the popular side of people. Saying you like Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels ahead of Matthew Stafford is a whole lot cooler than old man Stafford. Jaden Daniels has 1 playoff season, right? He has 1 season. He's got 2 playoff wins, and he's only going into his 2nd year. I know he's better than Robert Griffin III, right? But right now he's Robert Griffin, right? Until we see something else. Jalen Hurts, he's 6-3 in the playoffs. But let me just ask you this. Without that Philly defense and that atrocious KC offensive line, could he have outgunned Mahomes in a shootout, right? If Mahomes wasn't running for his life? We saw what he did against the Rams, and it wasn't with his arm. There are limitations to Jalen Hurts' arm. He's got a great team around him. He's got a pretty good coach who's better than most people think. And he plays somewhat within his limitations. I'll give him credit for that. But Jalen Hurts' arm is not scary. Joe Burrow is 5-2 in the playoffs. Of course, he hasn't been to the playoffs for 2 seasons. Good quarterback, of course. But he lost to Matthew Stafford in the Super Bowl. When Matthew Stafford beat him on the Rams' final drive, the Rams only had 1 receiver, Cooper Kupp, right? Burrow had everybody. Higgins, Chase, everybody, right? And he couldn't get it done. How would you rate him against Matthew Stafford? Sorry. Lamar Jackson, I've been down this road before. Scoop of vanilla, scoop of chocolate. Don't waste my time. The guy's 3-5 in the playoffs. Every time it loses, the KBM comes out and says he just needs better parts. He just needs more compliments. And every year they start the year by saying, oh, wow, they got him some pieces. And, because Baltimore, through the first 8 weeks of every season the last 3 years, is a Super Bowl contender. And then, of course, we see something different late December and early January. But I wouldn't take any of those guys over Matthew Stafford. Josh Allen, yes. Patrick Mahomes, yes. But not any of those guys. Burrows can't stay healthy. Could you imagine Burrow? Keep calling him Burrows. Can you imagine Burrow playing for the Detroit Lions for 13 years? As fragile as he already is, could you imagine him getting banged around like Stafford got banged around in Detroit? Stafford, by the way, is 5-5 all time in the playoffs, but he's 5-2 with the Rams. So throw that out there real quick. Looking at this, guys, I don't know if it's going to be a long show. Let's see here. Question. Back to Jared Goff. Does Jared Goff have a press agent, an agent, a wife, or any real good friends? That's the thing. There's no mystery here. Everybody that I've heard has got this right. For Jared Goff's benefit, someone needs to say, bro, shut up. Just shut up. You're not helping yourself, right? You're not helping yourself at all. Robert Sword, Zach Zeiler says hi. Yeah, I didn't know he was a contemporary of you out there in Missouri, Steeler fan Rob. Thank you for that. Yeah, tell him to click on. He clicks on. I'll send him a Kistler mug. There we go. Okay, Manny and Tim and everyone saying hi. Steve Ramirez, I was in the Lamar camp until the 2023 playoff loss, He had KC at home and still lost, for sure. Tim Powers, Goff's best seasons with the Rams was when Gurley was healthy. Best highlight of Goff was watching him get knocked on his can after he threw that pick six. Now that Ragnow is retired, we'll see more. That's it's going to be real interesting, right? It's going to be real interesting. And of course, the success Goff has had in Detroit has come with Montgomery, has come with Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And of course, the connection there is Brad Holmes, who was a key executive for player personnel there with the Rams. He goes and becomes the GM of Detroit and knocks it out of the yard. And he has the ability to surround Goff with some talent there. But when you look at Goff's comments about McVay and the Rams, doesn't Goff just confirm why the Rams traded him? For all of his appearances and everything, he just too immature, right? I was pro Goff. In 2020, I'd be watching games here in the RamCave with some of my friends, and we were questioning the play calling. We said, why doesn't he let Goff throw, right? We were in the room accusing McVay of being the boy genius, of thinking he was the smartest guy in the room. I can't count how many times that season it's 3rd and 16 and we're running an inside screen or a short hitch to Woods or Cooper Kupp. But it was what it really was, as we come to find out, it was McVay had lost all confidence in Goff. The John Wolford situation explains it all. And they were ready to move on. And so Goff talking the way he's talking, I just don't get it. Note to Jared, take a note from Steven Stills and love the one you're with. If you can't be with the one you want, love the one you're with. Detroit's been good to you. Love the one you're with, right? Love the one you're with. Amen? Amen. All right. Let's see. Steeler fan Rob has ordered his Nick Herbig jersey this week. Okay. All right. Yeah. Steeler fan Rob going there. Let's see. Jared Goff as LA Rams quarterback was defeating the Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, the best game for Jared Goff. Yeah, that's true. Jared Goff was great with the Rams. He was really solid up through 2018. I've always contended that if you guys go back on YouTube, it's there. Watch what happens in that NFC Championship game against the Saints. I know it was the 2018, but it was played in 2019. We know that. Go watch that. As the Rams are trailing, as the Rams needed to get into a game-time feel, look at the throws that Goff was making against the Saints, which was a pretty good team then, in the Superdome, in a hostile environment, where up until the Nickel Roby-Coleman incident, every call had to go in the Saints' favor because, it was only 14 years after Katrina, so everything had to favor the Saints, and Goff was a different quarterback. By the time you get midway through 2019, he's not the same guy. His confidence was gone. He's not making the bold throws. And now when you watch Stafford and you compare Stafford, maybe not so much to Goff, you watch him compared to Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers makes the safe throw where you still have Stafford going downfield and making those big-time throws. That's a percentage stat on Pro Football Focus, the BTT, big-time throw. And Goff lost that when he was with the Rams. And so I think he got it back a little bit there with Detroit, but Mr. Powers is right. With Ragnow gone, a few changes there on that offensive line, we're going to see. I do have faith in Brad Holmes, though, because he quickly put together a roster that within a year and a half was starting to compete. I believe in Dan Campbell. Their offense is going to look a bit different because, of course, they lost their DC and their OC. But just something to keep an eye on there. I do. I truly do. Let's see here. Manny Korea, what's up? Tim Burns, Joe, these crowns are the viewers who rank with the most posts on RamView. Wow, did not know. Hey, man, everyone wants a piece of this, guys. You got to keep posting. I feel like I've crossed some avenue here to respectability. All right. Now, if I can get there on Spotify, it'd be better, but I'm happy for you guys to be here. Okay, third Ram topic here. I glanced at the article. I think it was, I don't know where it was. I think I saw the link on Rams Wire about Stan Kroenke being one of the best sports owners and all that kind of stuff. But it's been something that's been bugging me for a while. And really, as someone who was around when Carroll Rosenbluth owned the Rams, Didn't think anything of it until the guy drowns in the surf, and we get stuck with, we know what we got stuck with, right? She who must not be named, right? And by the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes. We know who we're talking about. But Kroenke at the end of this month turns 78. I pray he lives long and prospers. I want that to happen. He's been married for 51 years, which lends to his stability. He's classified as a Republican, but I read this thing where he gave money to Hillary and he gave money to Trump. Smart business guy, greasing both ends. So it's no surprise how things have gone for Kroenke and across his whole sports empire. This guy's a smart guy, prudent guy, stable guy. But what happens after him, right? You couldn't ask for anything more, but what happens after him? Given the issues of the Buss family, right? And granted, the Kroenkes have a greater net worth than the Busses. Who takes over when Stan retires or crosses the river to rest under the shade of trees? Who takes over? I assume it will be his son, Josh, who's currently the president of the Nuggets and Avalanche. He's 45, and hopefully he's getting all that experience. But it is something to think about. What upsets the apple cart here, right? I don't think we're going to hold on to Sean McVay and Les Snead for another 10 years, right? But theoretically, if you could hold on to those guys, and let's just say Josh takes over at some point, he steps in, his dad steps away. Josh takes over when he's 55 or 50 or whatever. You got to believe the crown of the Kroenke empire is the Rams. It's not the Nuggets or the Avalanche or any of those soccer teams. McVay is still not 40, right? I think Snead is 50 or 51. The key pieces here are here for right now for a long, long run. And, you wonder if he runs the Rams the way his dad has run the Rams, that allows things to be easier for Snead and for McVay. And it's just kind of like exciting to think that this isn't, we believe there's a 2-year window right now, right? But, maybe there's a couple years of stepping back, but there's going to be another window and another because of how the franchise is run. And again, I go back to say it. I know the Rams won a title in the 50s, and they went to a handful of finals when they first came to Los Angeles. We had that nice run in the 70s, but really couldn't get over the hump with the exception of Super Bowl 14. This is a golden age to be a Rams fan. And this is why we balance that line of, am I a fanboy because I just see all this good stuff? I think it's because we come out of the PTSD of she who must not be named. And it's like, this is just unbelievable, right? This must have been what the 49ers fan base was like when DeBartolo was running the squad, right? In the midst of the Kraft, Belichick, Brady experience for the Patriots. It's, in the midst of the Rooney, Noel, Bradshaw eras, although there was a few rocking things there because Bradshaw really had to fight to get that job, keep that job in Pittsburgh for a while. But there's just this faith you have, and you don't want to be a fanboy. But again, I go back to it. You can't help but be a fanboy when you look at what the Rams are doing. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Tim Powers. Goff's Berserkly grad. What do we expect? Well, he played for the football team, so maybe he wasn't too exposed to the hate and that lingering stuff there at Haight-Ashbury, right? Tim Burns, Rams 54, KC 51. How easy we forget his successes when the previous 21 starting Rams quarterbacks between Bulger and Goff sucked badly. Goff deserves more respect than this, my family. I'm not bagging Goff. I said Goff played great. I said he played great. But there was something different post-2018. Halfway through 2019 through 2020, he wasn't the same quarterback. There was just a difference. I'm not saying he played bad for the Rams. I'm not. But tell me, it was a magnificent upgrade, right? It was a magnificent upgrade. ESG, Jerry Buss was a fierce businessman. Too bad it didn't rub off on his kids. It's about climbing the mountain, right? ESG, it's about climbing the mountain. I think when you climb the mountain, you know where every crevice and step is, right? And so you get to the top, but you knew what it took to get there. And I'm not I'm not bagging on the Bus family or Jeannie too much, but it was her dad that did the climbing, and then eventually her brother and then her got crowned at the top of the mountain. It's I wear my outsider shirt, right? Fancy word here. I help executive produce camps now. I'm an executive producer of camps. I started off as the assistant to the assistant flunky working junior high camp. Then I became the games guy. Then I became the dean. Then I became the security guy, the speaker for a number of years, the director, camp director for a number of years. I wrote the small group material. I did all these things. And so when I got in charge of different camps is that I knew the mountain, right? I knew how to climb. And I think that's what the Bus family missed. And maybe Stan's situation, because, what did Jeannie run? The Lasers, the LA Strings? I mean, what did she run? That's not the same as running the Nuggets or even the Colorado Avalanche, right? And don't they own a Premier League team too? Isn't it Arsenal they own? Those are big time things. This aren't the LA Strings or the Lasers. So hopefully Josh Kroenke will be ready and likely could be ready when the time comes. Let's see here. Good question, though, ESG. Jim Everett, great. Good to see you, Joe. It's been a while. Thank you, Jim. Glad to have you. I understand things slow down during the summer. We are in desperate dead period material time. I could see it in my numbers, and that's okay. And, of course, you guys know I've been in and out between surgery and camp and all these things, CIT Academy and stuff. So no, I do appreciate you being here when you were here, and everything will find a great rhythm when we get the season underway. Steve Ramirez, Goff doesn't handle pressure well. It showed when the Rams had O-line problems. Well, there was that O-line in 2019 fell apart, right? They let Stafford walk, and there was just all kinds of stuff. I think we're running everybody in there trying to make it work, and it was a disaster. And plus, he couldn't hold on to the ball. He fumbled quite a bit, right? Didn't he fumble quite a bit? I don't have those stats in front of me. I don't want to turn this into a bagging session on Goff's play up to a certain point. I just want him to say, bro, gosh, Detroit loves you. Embrace that. He's part of the golden age for Detroit Lions football since Bobby Lane. Little blips here and there with Billy Sims and Barry Sanders, right? Little blips here with Megatron and Stafford, but this is consistent. This is the most consistent Detroit's been in my lifetime. Detroit, my whole growing up period in the 14 and 16 game schedule was always a 7-17, 8-5-1, 6-7-1, 6-8, and then they'd fall apart and go 2-14 because Danielson got hurt and they had to play Jeff Comolo in 79. That kind of stuff. Not embarrassing, but just not great. And then the Matt Millen era, right, when they whiffed on, who was it? Was it Michael Smith, Carlos Rogers, and who was the other one? The other one that I think Roy Williams. They missed on 3 consecutive receivers, and it was just brutal. I think they got a modest success out of Eugene Sims, and it was just brutal. And, of course, Rod Marinelli's team, and I don't blame Rod Marinelli. He's actually a local guy for Steve and me. Went 0-16. They just went from mediocre to even worse. This is the golden age, and Goff should be appreciative because, honestly, if Josh Reynolds, a former Ram, holds on to a pass or two in that NFC Championship game against Frisco, the Chiefs are playing the Lions and not the 49ers. Josh Reynolds, the ball is my friend, and, of course, right after that, he was sent packing out of town. ESG, Jim, don't call me Chris Everett. Absolutely. I bet I do, right? I bet I do. All right, I'm Joe Terosian, sports writer for 21 years. One of the founding guys at Mid-Valley Sports, and I contribute there now every once in a while. We post RamView there and such. I help out, but I get to do RamView now. The guys there, Tim and Dwayne, they cover the Chargers. So they're in the room with the Chargers. I get to do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. So if you have an auto injury, auto accident question, please be sure to reach out to Kistler Law. I can't recommend them enough. They are also proud sponsors, not of RamView only, but of the Outsiders camps over the years. And so we want to make sure we acknowledge the gratitude we have there. Please, as you see in the chat box there, the link, I'll drop it in again after we post the show, the link to our prayer coverage. We have 90 hours of camp, and we break each one of those hours down into 4 15-minute increments. And so that means we got 360 slots to fill. And if those slots aren't filled, usually it's that 2 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. shift. Those slots don't get filled by people away from camp. Those slots get filled by me. And so we need some help there. If you could check that out, be appreciative. Be sure to check us out on Spotify and iHeart for our podcast, which, man, they've been Kevorkian of late. I think that's also because of the time of year it is, but it's never been great there. But we just keep posting, keep plugging away. And, of course, be sure to buy my books. My books are on Amazon, and they help keep me on the air. Your guys' support of my books keep me on the air. Pastor of a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene. You can find us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, and Burbank Faith Virtual all across social media. Okay, let's get to not much around the NFL and other places. I thought DeAndre Ayton had a pretty good press conference with the Rams. I've heard that. But he came across real well. I also heard Micah Parsons is holding off signing his contract with the Cowboys until he finds out what TJ Watt is making, so he can be the highest paid player. I wouldn't pay either one of those guys. I wouldn't even pay Myles Garrett 40 rocks to play. At that point, you trade those guys. You just have to. Now, I might sing differently when it comes to Jared Verse if he ascends to the next level, but I like TJ Watt a whole lot more than I like Micah Parsons, and I just would not pay him that. And I hope the Cowboys do. I hope Jerry Jones gives him, if TJ's getting 45, I hope they give Micah 46, right? Just hamstring themselves. But that's ridiculous that you would give those guys that. You are getting edge rushers, guys. You are getting edge rushers. Just like you're getting receivers. There's the few guys that really stand out, like running backs. There's the Saquon Barkley, right? There's that type there's that occasional one, Derrick Henry, that really stands out. And okay, you take care of business. But man, the draft is producing edge guys and receivers every year. And I just wouldn't do that. But please do if you're the Cowboys, right? Please do. All right, just looking at the NFC West. Couple of things, housekeeping things on the 49ers, Cardinals, and Seahawks. I thought this was funny. A Frisco beat writer was praising former Wisconsin quarterback, UDFA, Tanner Mordecai. He's going to be in his second year with the Niners, and he was indicating that he might make some noise. Maybe not challenging Brock Purdy, of course. They just signed Purdy. So if Tanner Mordecai challenges Brock Purdy, Lynch and Kyle Shanahan should be fired because you just put all your chips in on Brock Purdy. But they're also talking about him maybe challenging Mac Jones. And so, but they're really high on Tanner Mordecai because this writer was kind of indicating that there was a feel like a Brock Purdy feel when Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant and just worked his way up the chart past Jimmy G and of course then Trey Lance. So wouldn't that be marvelous if Tanner Mordecai did? Wouldn't that be marvelous if he caused doubt for Kyle Shanahan? Wouldn't that be marvelous if there was something after paying Brock Purdy that at some point Kyle Shanahan gets real nervous because in the fourth quarter, he always gets real nervous and he goes to Tanner Mordecai? Wouldn't that be marvelous for Ram fans? Just something to think about there. The Cardinals, I saw today, the Cardinals have, I think, the fourth or fifth highest availability for cap space currently. They still have 36.1 rocks in cap space available. And as of right now, the Cards have all 7 draft picks, 1 in each round in 2026. Now, they're not in line as of now for any compensatory picks. So still having all their picks and a lot of money to spend, that gives them the ability to make some moves. Now, usually what we're used to seeing with the Cardinals, right, is we see a fast start. We see a fast start, 10-0 start, 9-0 start, 9-1 start, 8-2 start, something like that. And then reality sets in. People get injured and Kyler Murray becomes Kyler Murray again. But this team has continued to play hard for Jonathan Gannon. GM Osafort has made all the right calls. I mean, they've had some great drafts. Who's to say? Now, I brought up, Tomlinson's age, Dalvin Tomlinson's age, Calais Campbell's age, and some of the age they got there that they're depending on. Their big signing was Josh Sweat. But wouldn't it be weird to see the Cardinals as buyers as we get to the trading deadline this year in the 2025 season? They scare me the most as a Ram fan. They really do. And something to keep an eye on is that they've got room to become a player in this season. This is the season we were kind of projecting that they were going to arrive. They kind of did last year a little bit, but they're coming fast, and that is a team to keep an eye on. The Seahawks, looking at beat writers for the Seahawks, the team's beat writer for Seahawks Wire, this guy named Justin Mello, he penned a piece that Seattle needs way more out of Byron Murphy. And I think we've talked about this, and this is kind of exciting. Hey, when did the Rams take Jared Verse? Was he 18th or 19th overall? I'm trying to think. Was he 19th overall? Do you remember when Byron Murphy was all that, talk leading up to the 2024 draft? Hey, we need somebody to replace Aaron Donald, or, someone to pair up. He's a new Aaron Donald because Byron Murphy was great. Well, the Seahawks jumped in. They took him 16th overall out of Texas that year. And pundits, experts, Ram fans tagged him as the guy that could replace Donald, but he didn't have a really great rookie year. Got some injuries, had less than 500 snaps. And here's the thing that it's kind of cool that they're kind of some of the Seahawk writers are kind of seeing what we're kind of guesstimating at is Leonard Williams is 31, and they just redid his contract. They re-signed Jaron Reed. He's turning 33 in late December. DeMarcus Lawrence, D-Law, the former Cowboy, is also on that team. He's 33. Murphy is the guy that cannot whiff. They've hit on so many. I know I bag on their offensive line, but Charles Cross is a pretty good left tackle. Devin Witherspoon, they hit late in rounds with Tariq Woolen. They've made some really good draft picks, a couple of good running backs in Walker and Charbonnet. We could question McDonald, right? But if Byron Murphy is a miss, and then you've got three other guys alongside him, they're all in their 30s, that's going to mess up Mike McDonald big time. That is really something to keep an eye on going forward. Of course, he's not going to play during the preseason, but keep your eye on that as the season plays out. I think he's going to get a chance to play his way into being a bust. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust, but he's the one that really needs to step up. As the writer for Seahawks Wire said, they need way more out of Byron Murphy. If he stumbles, wow, it could be really interesting for the Seahawks this year. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Steve Reyes, Verse was 19. There we go. Yeah, same pick that Alex Barron was taken at. I remember. Bad memory, Ram fans. All right, looking at that, seeing the projected cap space for this year, right now, I think this was released a couple days ago, the Patriots, who made a bunch of moves this year, they got 60 rocks in cap space. 49ers have 45 because, they got out of the Hufanga business, the Trey Greenlaw business. They moved off of the Deebo Samuel. They moved off of a lot of things. The 49ers have 45. The Detroit Lions, now that's, again, a team that, we're going to find out about their offensive line. We're going to find out if Terry and Arnold's going to step up at corner, and if their moves, was it DJ Reed comes in at the other corner. We're going to find out if those other moves are paying off. If not, draft picks and 40 rocks are powerful persuaders when you get to the trade deadline. So the Lions, unless there's a huge collapse, are going to be in this to the finish. Then you got the Green Bay Packers. Cardinals at 36, Green Bay Packers at 35, Cowboys at 32, but you wonder about when they sign Micah Parsons, what that's going to look like. The other two teams that really were interesting to me were the Raiders at 31. I don't expect the Raiders to compete. I expect the Raiders, they could finish 8-9 this year and finish in last place, and everyone's going to feel a whole lot better in Las Vegas. But 31 rocks is something to play with a little bit if, say, the Chiefs suddenly get old. Say Bo Nix has a sophomore slump. Say the Spanos mojo overcomes the Harbaugh mojo with the Chargers. Keep your eye on I like what the Raiders are doing. I just don't think it's enough right now. And then the Eagles, right? The Eagles, for everything that they've done, I think they're going to take a step back. I think their offense is going to take a step back. That's just what I'm thinking. But they've got the dough and the resources to go out and get another piece if they need it. Amen? Amen. All right. Worst team, worst cap position. Let's see. Kansas City Chiefs only have 10.9. Atlanta Falcons only have 5. The New York Giants only have 3.8. And the Buffalo Bills are over the cap. I don't know how that works at this point. 101 million or 101,000. I'm not sure what that says. I got a K there. Over the cap. Whatever it is, it's not good. Also, Bucs left tackle Tristan Wirf had knee surgery. He's not expected to be ready to go when the season starts. May find himself on the PUP list. That's huge. I've been talking about the team that no one's talking about is Tampa Bay. This is a team that everyone needs to keep an eye on. But losing their left tackle, we'll see how long. It's good that the surgery was now. I think it was his right knee gave him trouble last year. I don't know why you wait so long to have the surgery, but maybe it's arthro. Maybe it's something just to get him out of having to report on time to camp in a couple weeks. But that's something to keep an eye on for the Buccaneers, because I think the Buccaneers are a dangerous team going forward. So here we go.
It was a stone groove, my man.
All right. This date in Rams history, July 9th, 1985, the Rams waived Dwayne Crutchfield. Crutchfield had a kind of nice little run there with the Jets. He was with the Rams in 84. There was that giant playoff game where Robinson used Crutchfield instead of Eric Dickerson on a key play. One of the few Rams playoff games I missed because I had to work. So yeah, they waived Dwayne Crutchfield on this day in 1985. But on that same day, they signed free agent running back Charles White. Remember, Charles White had been drafted first round 1980 by the Browns, 27th overall, 4-year starter at USC, won a Heisman, and he was fantastic. I love Charles White. He was my first USC tailback. I saw Anthony Davis as a senior, and I saw Ricky Bell as a junior, and then he kind of shared time with White in 76 because Ricky Bell had a hip pointer. And, the big talk was about Charles White is that he came from San Fernando High School, same place Anthony Davis went to. So I really liked Charles White. He was all in, right, when he ran. Unfortunately, by the time he got to the NFL, he had amassed a lot of, a lot of touches. His college career, he had over 1,000 carries, 1,023. He rushed for 5,598 yards. In just 12 games in 1978, he rushed the ball 342 times. So imagine the number of hits he had accumulated before even coming into the NFL. And, of course, that was the system. That was tailback U. That's what a USC tailback did. And, wow, I liked him. He had a drug problem in Cleveland, didn't work out. They put him in the street. John Robinson brought him in. What I remember, too, about Charles White was when he crossed the picket line, none of the Ram players were upset during the 87 strike because of his drug issue and staying clean. He needed to work. And even Ram players said, no, he needs to cross because for his health and his well-being, he needs to stay in a discipline and a routine. And so that part was pretty cool. And then, of course, after Eric Dickerson was traded, he rushed for 1,300 yards, 1,374 yards, 11 touchdowns in 87. Played in 88 and then retired. By that time, Greg Bell had taken over in 88, 89. And then Charles White, and I got an autographed picture of Charles White here in my office. When I set up my FanView set over here, which we'll be doing really soon, I'll make sure the picture of Charles White is shown. I got Charles White and Wimble Tyler. Pretty cool. But yeah, just want to remember this was the day the Rams signed Charles White. Tomorrow, since we're not on the air, July the 10th, 1967, the Rams acquired Bernie Casey, former 49er, but they got him from the Falcons for Tom Moore. Big guy for his time, 6'4", 215 flanker. In 8 NFL seasons in the 60s, this guy caught 359 passes. That's a lot of catches, right? Only Pro Bowl came after the 67 season with the Rams, where he caught 53 passes for 16 yards a catch, 8 touchdowns. He only played one more year with the Rams, and then he went into acting and art and stuff. He was kind of a different guy. But Bernie Casey had a nice run in the NFL. Of course, he's UN Jefferson. He started working for Lambda. There you go. Let's see. July 10th, 1971, the Rams send George Berman to the Redskins for a 4th-round pick in 1974. Okay. Berman, it is often said, is said to be the first long snapper in NFL history. And, of course, he did it for George Allen with the Bears and the Rams. After he retired, Allen talked him into coming back, and the Rams later sent his rights to D.C. for that 4th-round pick. And that 4th-round pick was 99 overall, and it turned out to be Ole Miss quarterback Norris Weese. Now, I don't know if anyone remembers Norris Weese, but he signed with the WFL, and then after the WFL folded, he joined the Rams in 75, but in July of 75, but he was cut in September. He went to Denver in 76, played 4 seasons in Denver, including one of the most, when you watch Super Bowl highlights, right, the guy you least likely to expect to be on the field, Norris Weese. He replaced Craig Morton in Super Bowl 12. And, of course, that was a disaster Super Bowl. Unfortunately, he died at the age of 43 of cancer in 1995. What else do we got here? Not much. Oh, July the 10th, 2000. Former Ram quarterback, 1st-round pick in 64 out of Utah State, Bill Munson, passed away. I think it was a heart attack. He lived in Lodi, and really interesting. He was the last Ram quarterback taken in the 1st round in 64 until the Rams drafted Sam Bradford. And then another interesting thing about that is that he was from NorCal, and then same thing. Jared Goff comes to the Rams. Munson's traded to the Lions. Goff is traded to the Lions, and Munson kind of battled back and forth with Greg Landry for years, and he was part of that weird experience with the Rams where they drafted 3 quarterbacks in a row with high picks: Roman Gabriel, Terry Baker, and Bill Munson. And it wasn't until George Allen got there in 66 and says, "What is this stupidity?" And he said, "Roman Gabriel's my quarterback," and they never looked back after that. So there we go. I think we got that in. Outstanding. Let's see here. Boom. Tribe. Great to have you, Tribe. Everett is wearing his Aaron Donald Super Bowl jersey. All right. Steve Ramirez. I was at the Giants playoff game. So disappointing. Hey, Steve, as a longtime Ram fan, what did you think about watching games at the Big A versus the Coliseum? Just curious. It was a little more pleasant environment at the Big A. I thought you were a little closer to the action. And of course, in those days, though, we were older. We were driving to the games. We didn't really have to take all the bus. I'd be curious to know what you thought. Steve Ramirez. I was lucky enough to interview Charles Light when I freelanced a story on colleges' coming home programs. He was in charge of USC's program to find money for players returning to school. Pretty good. That's awesome, Steve. I used to see him because there was a stretch there where I got to cover some USC basketball. I used to get credentialed to cover USC basketball, and then Henry Bibby's team kind of took off, and they stopped credentialing me. When they were small potatoes, it was great. This was the Sam Clancy, Jeff Trepanier, Scalabrini, Brandon Granville era, and so when they were no good, I was getting to cover them. As time went on, the Tessalone says, "Sorry, Joe, I can't credential you. All the big shots are showing up now." Let's see here. Steve Ramirez, I loved it. Those right field seats were right on the sideline. Yeah, I loved it too. I thought they were pretty good. I thought it was a pretty good place to see a game. Of course, everything after the Coliseum looked great. I was actually in the end zone watching Roger Craig in '88 make that run where he broke through everybody on the Rams defense, and he ran right towards us in the end zone that year. Later on, I think I saw a Lions game there. I got a high five from Norwood Van about a week before he got cut. So yeah, some good memories there at Anaheim. All right. I think we got it all. Guys, one more time, I'm going to drop it into the box there. Do me a favor. Maybe you're not people of faith, but if you are, follow that link I just dropped in. That's our sign up genius. That's what takes us to takes you to a sign up to cover us for a prayer shift. And we need all the help we can get as camp starts in 2 weeks. That's why I'm wearing the Outsider shirts. That's the name of our program. I do wash this shirt, but for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be wearing this all the time to help drive home the point. Guys, I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm happy to stick around for another minute. If you guys have anything you guys want to talk about, anything on your mind, Steve, Tribe, ESG, Jim Everett, thanks for being here. Mr. Powers, Steeler fan Rob, Willie, Manny, thank you for being here. The great Tim Burns, and everyone else. I appreciate you guys being here because it is slow. I understand it's slow, but when we're in double digits on a live broadcast on a hot day, man, we're ready to talk football, right? My plan again is to do a version of what my column used to be called FanView, run that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm thinking of broadcasting that on, it'll be more quick reporting, quick thoughts, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I'm thinking about posting that or doing that live on Facebook and then uploading it here. I don't have the time to do another show for an hour or so because it's just my schedule's too crazy. But hopefully you guys will check that out. And then we'll be talking about all the sports, a lot of college football, different NFL stuff, talking Lakers and everything. I'm kind of interested in the Lakers. I really am interested in the Lakers right now. So, all right. Hey, maybe Steeler fan Rob can get us Zach Seiler to join us on the air. Okay, guys. God bless. Take care. And yeah, check out my books. My books are on Amazon. I need the help. I want to go on vacation, and I don't have enough dough to go on vacation. Tribe, thank you. Take care, guys. We will see you on Friday.